Have you ever caught yourself wondering why it's so exhausting trying to be a good person all the time? Like truly exhausting. Why it feels like no matter how hard you try something about it, just doesn't sit right. Maybe you've had those moments where you smile even though you want to scream, or times when you've offered support while secretly hoping someone would notice you needed help too. If that sounds like you, then there's something I need to say, something most people don't have the guts to admit. Your obsession with being perfect, with always doing the right thing, might actually be doing more damage than any mistake ever could. You, yes, you who constantly overthink what you say, how you act, what you feel, just so you don't upset or disappoint anyone. You've been taught that to be worthy of love, respect, and acceptance, you have to keep your anger buried, your desires hidden, your envy locked away. But let me ask, how many times have you silenced your own truth just so you wouldn't come off as selfish or ungrateful or less spiritual? How many times have you laughed politely when deep down you were on the edge of tears? How often have you shown up strong for others when inside you were falling apart? I see you. Because millions of people live like this, trapped, not by steel bars, but by invisible expectations, by this unwritten rule that says we must always be kind, patient, generous, humble, and selfless. And sure, those words sound noble. They sound like everything we should aspire to be. But what if I told you that always being good might just be a disguise? Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer saw it with stunning clarity. He believed that underneath all our so-called morality, there's something stronger, something raw and relentless. He called it the will, a blind, instinctive, deeply selfish force that drives everything we do. Schopenhauer wasn't trying to be cynical, he was being honest. He saw how trying to suppress that will by forcing ourselves into this image of moral perfection doesn't make us better. It splits us in two. There's the part of you that feels and the part of you that performs. And that divide, it creates a silent, constant pain. You end up living in a role. You become the nice one, the patient one, the strong one, and people admire you for it. But deep inside, resentment starts to grow. A quiet bitterness born from the reality that your goodness is costing you something. That underneath it all, you're hoping for something in return, maybe acceptance, maybe approval, maybe just the relief of not being alone. So let me ask you a real question. What's the point of being loved by everyone if you can't even love yourself? What's the point of being admired if you feel like you're suffocating under all the pressure to perform? Schopenhauer offered a radical idea. He said that real compassion, the kind that doesn't demand applause, only happens when we stop trying to be perfect, when we stop hiding our flaws, when we admit that we are in fact flawed. Because when the mask drops, something powerful happens. You stop pretending. You start connecting. You see that everyone carries pain. Everyone hides things. And from that shared understanding, real kindness can emerge, not because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the human thing to do.
So if you've been feeling like the burden of being good all the time is getting heavier, don't go anywhere. Stick with me, because in this video, we're going to explore why this pursuit of moral perfection might be the very thing holding you back from freedom, and why embracing your imperfection might be the key to finally feeling whole.
Since we were little, we've been taught this unspoken rule: be good, be a good kid, a good student, a good friend, a good employee. And somewhere along the way, being good stopped being a choice. It became a moral obligation. It's like there's this invisible voice constantly whispering in your ear, be kind, be patient, swallow your pride, put others first, stay strong. Never let them see the messy parts of you. But no one ever warned you about the flip side of all this. No one ever told you that this constant performance of goodness can become one of the cruelest prisons you'll ever live in. That trying to be everything for everyone will slowly strip you of yourself. You start saying yes when everything inside screams no. You endure criticism, unfair treatment, even emotional abuse, just so you don't seem difficult or selfish. And over time, you begin to disappear. You reshape your every word, your tone, your body language, just to match what others expect from you. You become so focused on being what others want that you forget who you really are. You think this is just part of being a good person, but it's not. This is the trap. It's the myth of perfect goodness, and it locks you into a cycle. You start measuring your worth by how much you please others. You chase compliments like they're proof that you matter. But then every small critique, every disapproving glance feels like a personal failure. You start living on an emotional roller coaster. One moment you're validated, the next you're crushed. That's not virtue, that's emotional slavery. Schopenhauer saw this dynamic long before anyone was talking about people-pleasing. He understood that deep beneath all our polished moral behavior, there's something primal at work, the will. This relentless, unconscious force that pushes us to act in our own self-interest. He believed trying to silence this will, this inner fire in the name of being morally perfect, is like trying to put out flames with gasoline. The more you suppress it, the more powerful and dangerous it becomes. And here's the hard truth, that over-the-top kindness you're showing, it's not always about being good. Sometimes it's survival. You're using niceness as currency. You give love hoping to get love. You show patience expecting respect. You sacrifice your needs expecting gratitude. But when those things don't come, it hurts. It hurts because deep down you were hoping someone would notice your efforts. You were hoping that all your goodness would finally make you feel seen, accepted, worthy. But instead you're left feeling empty. Because while you pretend you don't have needs, your real self, the raw, messy, imperfect self, is being buried alive. And it shows up in subtle ways. You might feel drained all the time, struggle to feel joy. Maybe you snap unexpectedly or withdraw from people for no reason. That's not weakness. That's the cost of living a life that's not truly yours. Schopenhauer wasn't trying to turn people into selfish monsters. He just wanted us to stop lying to ourselves. He believed that freedom doesn't come from killing the will, but from understanding it, seeing it clearly, and choosing to live with awareness instead of illusion. So what happens when you spend your whole life ignoring this inner force? What happens when your entire identity is built around being good and nothing else? That's where we're going next. Because the real danger isn't just burnout, it's losing your soul piece by piece. If any of this sounds like your story, stay with me. In the next part, we'll talk about self-sacrifice, the beautiful-sounding virtue that might actually be destroying you from the inside out. Let's talk about one of the most praised but misunderstood concepts out there, self-sacrifice. We've all heard it growing up, that giving everything for others is the highest form of virtue, that the more you ignore your own needs, the more noble you are. You've probably told yourself, I just want to be a good person. I don't mind putting others first, but let me ask, how many times have you pushed your own limits, ignored your exhaustion, hidden your pain, all just to keep up that image? You wake up every day trying not to let anyone down. You try to be available, generous, emotionally strong. And on the surface, it looks like you're doing it out of love. But underneath, there's something darker going on. Schopenhauer saw it for what it really is, emotional slavery disguised as virtue. You see that blind, selfish force we talked about, the will, it doesn't disappear just because you're wearing the mask of selflessness. In fact, sometimes that very self-sacrifice is just another way the will is operating, but in disguise. You give not just out of generosity, but because deep down you expect something in return. It might be appreciation, gratitude, love, or just the relief of being seen as good. And when that recognition doesn't come, something toxic starts to build inside you. Resentment. Schopenhauer believed resentment was one of the most dangerous emotional poisons because it's quiet. It hides. You keep smiling, keep helping, keep playing the role. But inside you're collecting emotional debts, small wounds that never get acknowledged. And every time someone forgets to say thank you, every time you feel invisible, another cut is added. You might know someone like this. The endlessly generous friend or partner who one day suddenly explodes. I do everything for you and you don't appreciate it. That's not random. That's the collapse of a person who's been sacrificing without boundaries for way too long. And here's the real kicker: the world loves people like this. Society cheers for your self-sacrifice. You're called admirable, kind, selfless. But when the lights go off and the doors close, those same people aren't there when you're alone crying in the dark, asking yourself why no one ever gives back what you so freely offer. Schopenhauer would say that this isn't freedom, it's another prison. Only now the chains are made of compliments and fake virtue. You think you're choosing to be good, but really you're just obeying hidden impulses that you don't fully understand. And the more you do it, the more you lose yourself. You forget what you like, what you need, who you are. You become a role, a function in other people's lives, rather than a whole human being with your own messy, complicated, valid existence. Even worse, this kind of chronic self-sacrifice makes you vulnerable. You become easy to manipulate. People learn they can guilt you, pressure you, take from you, and you'll keep giving. Not because you want to, but because you're terrified of what will happen if you stop. Will they stop loving you? Will they reject you? Will they finally see the real, flawed you? This is why Schopenhauer warned us excessive virtue is often not about kindness at all. It's about control, about trying to shape how the world sees you. And that kind of control always comes at a price. So let me be brutally honest here. If you don't start seeing this pattern for what it is, it will eat away at you. Slowly, quietly. Until one day you wake up and realize you've been living for everyone else, but not for yourself. And you might be wondering, so, is all virtue fake then? Not at all. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. In the next part, we're going to explore a truth that most people run from, that even our so-called goodness can be a form of manipulation. Stick around, because what's coming next might just change the way you see yourself and the way you see kindness forever.